Picture this: a single, flickering bulb above the kitchen table, casting jagged shadows across a half-empty mug of coffee that's been sitting there since morning. That's my life right now, stale, untouched, waiting for something to happen. I'm Bridget, 32 years old, and I've spent the last few years carving out a routine in a suburban box we call home, just outside the hum of the city. I'm an office worker, punching numbers and filing reports, but that's not where the ache lies. It's here in this quiet, creaking house where the walls seem to lean in closer every night, whispering reminders of how alone I feel. My husband, Fraser, is 44, a contractor with hands rough from years of building other people's dreams while ours gathers dust. He's a good man, or at least he was, back when our laughter used to bounce off these walls. Now, he's a ghost in our own home, consumed by blueprints and late-night calls from construction sites. I sit on our worn-out couch most evenings, the TV droning on with shows I don't even watch, just to fill the silence. My thumb scrolls endlessly through my phone, looking for something, anything, to distract me from the emptiness. The kitchen still smells faintly of Fraser's morning coffee, bitter and cold, just like the space between us. Our bedroom upstairs feels like a museum exhibit, untouched and frigid. The bed made with military precision because no one's been there to mess it up in weeks. I can hear the house settling around me, the groan of old wood, the faint drip of a faucet I've asked Fraser to fix 100 times. It's like the place is as restless as I am. There's a yearning in me, a hunger for connection, for someone to see me, really see me, the way Fraser used to when we'd stay up late talking about everything and nothing. I don't know when it started, this slow unraveling of us, but it's left a void I can't seem to fill. I'm not ready to admit what I might do about it, not yet, but the thought lingers like a shadow I can't shake. At work, I've got a little escape, a trio of colleagues who keep me sane during those endless lunch breaks in the break room with its stale coffee and buzzing vending machine. There's Harlan, late 30s, with a quick wit that can turn any dull meeting into a comedy show. He's got this effortless charm, a way of making everyone around him laugh, and I find myself leaning into his jokes more than I should. Then there's Marcus, early 40s, quiet in a way that feels heavy, like he's always holding something back. He doesn't say much, but when he looks at you, it's like he's seeing right through to the parts you hide. And Harvey, 35, all confidence and sly grins, never missing a chance to toss out a flirtatious remark that makes my cheeks heat up even when I'm sitting there again, under that same flickering kitchen light, the silence pressing down on me like a heavy fog. Another night and Fraser's nowhere in sight, probably hunched over some blueprint in a dusty trailer miles away. The clock ticks past 8, then 9, and I can't take it anymore. My phone's in my hand before I even think it through, fingers trembling just a little as I pull up the group chat with Harlan, Marcus, and Harvey. I type out a quick message, something casual. Hey, let's grab drinks after work tomorrow, just to unwind. I hit send before I can overthink it, and the rush hits me instantly, a little spark of something dangerous. I tell myself it's nothing, just a harmless hangout with friends, but deep down, there's a part of me that knows better. I'm planning this behind Fraser's back, and that alone makes my pulse race in a way it hasn't in months. I spend the next day at the office barely focusing, my mind buzzing with anticipation. During a quiet moment, I search for the perfect spot on my phone, somewhere discreet, somewhere no one from my real life would stumble across me. I settle on a motel just a few miles from work, not some seedy dive, but one of those mid-range places with a rooftop bar that's quiet on weeknights. It's out of the way, tucked off a side street, the kind of place where the city feels distant even though it's right there. I can already picture it, the open air, the anonymity, a space where I can breathe without the weight of my empty house. I text the guys the details, and their quick replies. Harlan's enthusiastic, hell yes. Marcus's simple, I'm in, and Harvey's winking emoji make my stomach flip. It's just drinks, I keep telling myself, but the lie feels flimsy even in my own head. That evening, I'm standing in front of my bedroom mirror, the house so quiet I can hear my own uneven breathing. I've pulled out a dress from the back of my closet, black and a little too tight, the kind of thing I haven't worn in years. It clings to me in a way that feels both foreign and thrilling, the fabric catching the dim light as I turn side to side. I hesitate for a moment, my fingers hovering over the zipper, but then I pull it up with a quick, decisive tug. I grab a tube of lipstick, a deep red Fraser hasn't noticed on me in forever, and swipe it on, watching my reflection transform into someone bolder, someone I barely recognize. Guilt gnaws at me, a sharp little pang in my chest, but it's drowned out by the electric hum of excitement. I scribble a note for Fraser, just a vague out with friends, and leave it on the kitchen counter, my heart pounding so hard I'm sure the neighbors can hear it. I slip out the door, the cool night air hitting my skin as I lock up behind me, the click of the deadbolt sounding louder than it should in the still night. I'm on my way to the motel, my heels clicking against the pavement, each step feeling like a countdown to something I can't quite name. The air is crisp, carrying the faint scent of exhaust and late-night diners, and my breath catches in little clouds as I hurry to my car. I slide into the driver's seat, the leather cold against my bare legs, and grip the steering wheel tighter than necessary. My mind's racing. Part of me wants to turn back, to tear up that note on the counter and crawl into bed before Fraser gets home. But the other part, the louder part, pushes me forward, craving something I've been missing for too long. When I pull up to the motel, the neon sign flickers faintly, casting a bluish glow over the parking lot. I spot Harlan's beat-up sedan and Marcus's sleek black car already there, and my stomach does a little flip. I take a deep breath, check my reflection in the rearview mirror, my lipstick still bold, my eyes wide with something like fear or anticipation, and step out. The rooftop bar is just as I imagined, a quiet escape with string lights swaying gently in the breeze, a handful of empty tables, and a view of the city skyline that feels both close and impossibly far away. The guys are already there, leaning against the railing with drinks in hand, their laughter carrying over the hum of distant traffic. Harlan spots me first, waving me over with that easy grin of his, and I feel the tension in my shoulders loosen just a bit. We start with casual chatter, clinking glasses of cheap beer and fruity cocktails that taste stronger than they should. Harlan's cracking jokes, each one laced with a suggestive edge that makes my cheeks burn even as I laugh. He leans in close at one point, his voice low as he teases me about how I'm dressed to kill tonight, and I can feel the heat of his breath on my ear. I stammer something back, trying to play it cool, but my face is on fire. Then there's Marcus, standing a little apart, his gaze heavy and unreadable. Every time I catch his eye, it's like a current runs through me, making my skin prickle with something I can't ignore. He doesn't say much, but the weight of his stare is louder than any words. Harvey, though, he's all action. He sidles up to me under the pretense of pointing out a landmark in the distance, his arm brushing mine as he pulls me closer to the railing. His voice is smooth, confident, as he murmurs about how the city looks different from up here, but I'm barely listening. I'm too aware of his hand lingering on my lower back, the warmth of it seeping through the thin fabric of my dress. A few more drinks in, and the air between us shifts. It's thicker now, charged with something unspoken, something dangerous. I can feel it in the way their laughter slows, in the way their touches linger just a second too long. And me, I'm letting it happen. I'm letting myself get swept away by the attention, by the way they're looking at me like I'm the only thing that matters up here on this rooftop. The loneliness I've carried for so long, that hollow ache in my chest, it's drowning under the wave of their focus, their desire. I don't stop to think about Fraser, about the promises I made, about the life waiting for me back home. I just let go. It happens so fast, yet every moment feels stretched out, like time itself is holding its breath. 1 minute, we're laughing, leaning against the railing with the city sprawling below us, and the next, we're tucked into the shadows at the far edge of the rooftop, away from the bar staff's prying eyes. Harlan's hand finds mine, pulling me into the darkness, his voice a low rumble as he whispers something I don't quite catch. Marcus is there too, his presence intense, his fingers brushing my jaw as he tilts my face toward his. And Harvey, bold as ever, presses closer, his lips grazing my neck in a way that sends a shiver down my spine, a mix of thrill and dread I can't untangle. I'm in too deep now, and there's no turning back. The city lights blur below us, and for a fleeting moment, I feel alive in a way I haven't in years. But as the night wears on and reality creeps back in, a heavy weight settles in my chest. What have I done? The question echoes in my mind as I drive home later, the streets empty and silent, my hands trembling on the steering wheel. I can still feel the ghost of their touches, the heat of their words, but now it's tainted with a gnawing guilt that I can't shake. The days that follow are a slow descent into a kind of quiet panic. I wake up each morning with a knot in my stomach, the memory of that night on the rooftop replaying in sharp, vivid flashes. I try to act normal around Fraser, to plaster on a smile and go through the motions, but it's like I'm wearing a mask that doesn't quite fit. At breakfast, I can barely look at him. He's sitting across from me, sipping his coffee, the newspaper spread out in front of him, and I keep my eyes glued to my plate, pushing scrambled eggs around with my fork. I feel his gaze on me, steady and searching, and my skin prickles with unease. When he asks how my week's been, his voice casual but curious, I mumble something vague about work being busy and hope he doesn't press. But then he brings up that night, asking where I was when I got home so late, and my throat tightens. I stammer out a half-formed excuse about a project deadline and meeting up with some people from the office, but the words trip over themselves, clumsy and unconvincing. I can feel my face heating up, and I quickly shove a bite of toast into my mouth to avoid saying more. He just nods, but there's a slight furrow in his brow, a silent question I'm terrified he'll voice. Later that morning, as I'm getting ready to leave for work, I catch him watching me from the doorway. "You've seemed off lately, Bridget," he says, his tone gentle but pointed, like he's trying to peel back a layer I've worked so hard to keep in place. My heart stumbles, and I force a laugh, brushing it off with a quick, "Just tired, you know how it is," before grabbing my bag and hurrying out the door. But his words linger, looping in my head all day, a reminder that I'm not as good at hiding as I thought. Every creak of the floorboards in our house feels like an accusation, every quiet moment between us a space where the truth might slip out. I'm jumpy, on edge, waiting for the other shoe to drop. At home, I'm paranoid in ways I never used to be. One evening, I'm digging through my purse for my keys when my fingers brush against something papery. My stomach drops as I pull out a couple of crumpled receipts from the motel bar that night. The ink is smudged, but the name of the place is still legible, a damning little piece of evidence I forgot to get rid of. My breath catches, and I glance over my shoulder to make sure Fraser isn't nearby. He's in the living room, the faint sound of the TV drifting through the wall, but still, I feel exposed. I should throw them out, shred them, burn them, anything to erase the proof. But instead, in a moment of panic stupidity, I shove them deeper into a side pocket of my purse, as if hiding them there makes them disappear. My hands are shaking as I zip the bag shut, and I tell myself I'll deal with it later, but the weight of those receipts feels heavier than ever. The tension doesn't let up, not even for a second. A few days later, I'm in the kitchen washing dishes when Fraser comes in, leaning against the counter, with a casualness that doesn't match the sharpness in his eyes. He starts talking about a buddy of his who was passing by that same motel the other night, how he mentioned seeing. I'm standing in the kitchen, the dim overhead light casting harsh, jagged shadows across the tiled floor, making the room feel smaller, tighter, like it's closing in on me. The dinner I made hours ago sits untouched on the counter, the chicken congealed and cold, the mashed potatoes forming a sad, stiff mound. I can smell the faint tang of garlic still lingering in the air, but it's overpowered by the suffocating silence that stretches between Fraser and me. He's sitting at the table, his broad shoulders hunched forward, his rough hands folded in front of him like he's holding himself together. I can't bring myself to look at his face, not yet, so I focus on the chipped edge of the counter, tracing it with my eyes, as if it's the most fascinating thing in the world. My heart is hammering so hard I'm sure he can hear it, each beat a countdown to something I can't avoid anymore. Then he speaks, and his voice is low, controlled, almost too calm, like the quiet before a storm tears everything apart. "Bridget, I need you to explain something to me," he says, and my stomach twists into a knot so tight I can barely breathe. "I found the receipts in your purse, the ones from that motel, late-night timestamps, and I want to know why you've been lying about where you were." His words land like punches, each one precise and heavy, and I feel the ground shift beneath me. My mouth opens, but nothing comes out at first, just a shaky breath that betrays how rattled I am. I try to deflect, stammering out something about a work thing, a last-minute meeting, but the excuse sounds hollow even to my own ears. My words trip over each other, clumsy and desperate, piling up into a mess of half-truths that I know won't hold. He cuts me off before I can dig myself deeper, his voice still eerily steady. "Don't, Bridget, just don't. I've already checked with the motel. I've got a contractor friend who got me access to the door cam footage from that night. I saw it. 4 figures on the rooftop coming and going, and one of them was unmistakably you." My blood runs cold, a shiver racing down my spine as the reality of his words sinks in. He knows. He's seen proof I can't deny, evidence I didn't even think to consider. My hands start trembling, the shake so violent I have to grip the edge of the counter to steady myself. My throat tightens, like there's a vice clamping down on it, and my vision blurs with hot, stinging tears that I blink back furiously. I can feel the panic rising, a tidal wave crashing over me, drowning out any chance of a coherent thought. My chest heaves as I try to suck in air, but it's like there's not enough oxygen in the room, like the walls are pressing in tighter with every second that passes. Fraser leans back in his chair, the wood creaking under his weight, and I finally risk a glance at him. His face is a mask of barely contained emotion, his jaw tight, his eyes dark and unreadable, but there's a flicker of something raw beneath it all, hurt, maybe, or betrayal. When he speaks again, his voice is still quiet, but it's laced with a devastating weight that cuts deeper than any shout ever could. Did you betray me, Bridget? Did you throw away our marriage for some cheap thrill? The question hangs in the air, heavy and sharp, slicing through the last of my defenses. I feel like I've been stripped bare, every lie I've told, every secret I've kept, laid out on this cold kitchen table between us. My knees feel weak, and I'm not sure how I'm still standing. The tears I've been fighting spill over now, hot tracks down my cheeks, and I swipe at them with the back of my hand, but it's no use. They keep coming, a flood I can't stop. I'm at a crossroads, and I know it. I could keep lying, keep building this fragile house of cards, even as it's crumbling. I'm standing there in the kitchen, the weight of Fraser's words pinning me in place, and I know there's no escaping this anymore. The truth is out, raw and ugly, and I can't hide from it. I open my mouth to say something, anything, but all that comes out is a broken sob. I collapse into a chair across from him, my hands covering my face as if I can block out the reality of what I've done. But I can't. The damage is done, and it's irreversible. I've shattered everything we built, everything we promised each other, and for what? A fleeting moment of feeling seen, a temporary escape from the loneliness that's been eating me alive. I whisper, "I'm sorry," over and over, but the words feel empty, like they're too small to carry the weight of my regret. Fraser doesn't respond. He just sits there, the silence between us heavier than ever, until finally I hear the scrape of his chair as he stands. Without another word, he walks out of the room, his footsteps echoing down the hall, each one a hammer blow to my heart. The days that follow are a blur of emptiness. Fraser moved out the next morning, packing a duffel bag with the bare essentials while I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, watching helplessly. He didn't look at me, didn't say goodbye, just told me he'd be staying with a friend for a while. The door slammed shut behind him, and the sound reverberated through the house, a finality I wasn't ready for. Now, the house feels emptier than it ever has. The creak of the floorboards, the drip of that damn faucet, it's all louder somehow, like the silence is mocking me, punishing me for what I've done. I wander from room to room, aimlessly, the ghosts of our life together lingering in every corner. His coffee mug still sits on the counter, unwashed, a bitter reminder of mornings we'll never have again. The couch where we used to watch movies feels like a stranger's furniture, cold and unwelcoming. I can't even bring myself to sleep in our bed. I've taken to curling up on the living room recliner, wrapped in a thin blanket, staring at the ceiling until the first light of dawn creeps through the curtains. I've tried reaching out to him, desperate to bridge the chasm I've created. I've left voicemails, my voice cracking as I beg him to talk to me, to let me explain, even though I know there's no explanation that can fix this. He doesn't answer, doesn't call back. I've written letters, pages and pages of apologies and pleas, pouring out my guilt and shame in messy handwriting, but I find them unopened in the mailbox days later, returned to sender. It's like he's erased me from his life, and I can't blame him. I stand in the living room sometimes, staring at our wedding photo on the mantel. We're smiling in it, so full of hope, our arms wrapped around each other under a canopy of summer trees. I remember that day so clearly. The warmth of the sun, the way Fraser's hand felt steady in mine, the way I believed we could weather anything. Now, that photo feels like a relic, a piece of a life I've destroyed with my own hands. I can't even look at it for long before the tears start again, before the ache in my chest becomes too much to bear. It's not just at home that I'm feeling the fallout. At work, the whispers have started, soft but insidious, spreading like wildfire through the office. I don't know how the story got out. Maybe someone saw something, maybe one of the guys let it slip, but the looks I get now are different. People avoid my gaze in the break room, their conversations hushing when I walk by. Harlan, Marcus, and Harvey, who once filled my days with laughter and dangerous thrills, now keep their distance. Harlan doesn't crack jokes anymore. He barely acknowledges me. his usual charm replaced by an awkward nod if we pass in the hall. Marcus, with his intense stares, won't even meet my eyes, his once vibrant spirit now a shadow of its former self, leaving me to wonder if the bonds we shared were ever as strong as I believed. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.